Okay, should we get started? So it's 2 o'clock. Um, so welcome everyone to our VWEC Metaverse Expert Series. For those of you who are new, our website is in the chat and you can check that out at any time. And you can find VWEC on many social media channels. For example, the one that's in the link or in the chat. So after our presentation, we will move to the deck for social time for those who want to stay. Please note that our speaker will be doing her presentation in text and Val Librarian will be reading text in voice. I'm happy to introduce our Metaverse Expert Series to you today, Friday, January 12th, 2024, Bryn Oh. She was born in Toronto and attended the Ontario College of Art and Design, or the OCAD, and studied fine art, drawing, and painting, receiving the George A. Reed Award for painting. Subsequent to that, she attended the Toronto School of Art as well as Seneca College studying computer animation. After OCAD, Bryn became represented by the XEXE Gallery in Toronto, later known as the KWT Contemporary. Bryn's oil paintings are collected internationally. In 2007, Bryn became interested in creating immersive environments in virtual reality spaces as a new media artist known as Bryn Oh. Since then, Bryn's work has featured in magazines such as Vogue, in movies, and in galleries and museums worldwide. Her exhibitions include the Jewish Museum in Berlin with European director Peter Greenaway and Saskia Bodeke, Manage Museum in Moscow, Russia. Dance Macabre with Peter Greenaway in Basel, Switzerland, the 17th Biennial of Severia, World Expo in Shanghai, it's the Spanish Pavilion, Nuit Blanche in Toronto, and others. And I apologize if I have messed up the pronunciations of those places. Bryn's work is part of the curriculum for several colleges and universities with a new course on Bryn's work at York University. Bryn has received several art grants from the Ontario Arts Council and Canadian Council for the Arts. Bryn Oh also created a virtual environment to help heal soldiers with PTSD as a commission for the United States military. So ladies and gentlemen, here is Bryn Oh. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Marie. Okay, I could hear that from the stream some, Bryn says, as she has the live stream open right now as we begin. I will overlap a bit with that, but okay, I'm going to start. Hello, everyone. I am going to be doing this talk in chat for those who might like to cut and paste into translators. And should I be moving too fast, just say and I will slow down. I will be busy with the text, So if there are any questions or comments, please save them for the end, and I will do my best to answer. I will just say a few words to begin with on who I am and what I do in virtual spaces. You can find me on Wikipedia as Bryn Oh. My career began as an oil painter, but in 2007, I discovered virtual spaces and their potential as a new art medium. At that time, I realized that the virtual environment was a very powerful tool for immersive art. And I have since been striving to realize that potential. Marshall McLuhan once declared that the medium is the message. The majority of this talk will be on what makes this medium unique for an artist. But I also considered this statement in regards to what this medium is and who I am within it. So, for example, Bryn Oh is anonymous in that all which I create is not connected to my real life identity. Considering that my medium is essentially the internet, I wanted to play with the idea that who I am is a surface, and the visitor to my work must accept the limitations in dealing with an anonymous figure. An example of this is the dealings I have with those who exhibit my work outside the virtual space. The idea being that amongst all the flesh and blood artists who I exhibit with, I am, in appearance, just an anonymous internet character, a pale white moth. And the interesting thing for me was whether they would accept or reject me. I have had some time to find the answer to this question. And what I have discovered is that the vast majority will accept me simply as a virtual character, allowing my real life identity to remain anonymous. For example, Vogue magazine has written 2 articles about Bryn Oh without knowing the person behind the avatar. I have exhibited in venues ranging from Nuit Blanche, the World Expo in China, biennales, new media festivals, and the Medej Museum in Moscow, and the Judisches Museum in Berlin. These last 2 are special to me in that museums prefer traditional artwork, like painting and sculpture, and they prefer the artist to be established and quite dead. The work was accepted to these museums despite being an emerging, evolving medium, and they also agreed to work with me as the anonymous figure. This is more common today, but the fluidity of identity will become even more interesting with the evolution of artificial intelligence and how we interact with a party who may not even be human. In fact, I just read the other day about a host of AI-generated influencers on various social media platforms like Instagram who interact with their followers. And it is clear that most are unaware the model is not a real person. And the ones who do know don't mind. Other than the artwork of Bryn, other than that, this artwork of Bryn has been in movies, on various TV programs such as Art 21, written about in various thesis works and academic journals, all under Bryn Oh, rather than my real life identity, which to me I find fascinating. Anyway, I hope you will find what I have to say on virtual environments interesting. I will now try to focus more on what drew me to using virtual worlds as an art medium and what unique traits some possess over more traditional mediums such as painting, sculpture, or cinema. To do this, I will start by first giving a small example of a difference between this medium, the multi-user environment, and VR, to that of the painting medium, which is what I began with in my professional career. Here is a painting done by Mattia Preti. It is a good example of how to create an eye path for the viewer. The eye path just generally refers to how your eye subconsciously moves around within the composition of a painting. Essentially, when you view an artwork, your eye usually enters from the bottom right side of a painting and follows in a counterclockwise circle, moving from focal point to focal point. A focal point being something that stands out in a composition. Some artists are aware of this phenomenon and will work on the 2D plane to lead the viewer's eye around their artwork. They are attempting to cycle the viewer's eye for as long as possible, as the eye can leave a painting quite easily if the composition is poor. If the eye leaves the painting, then that is sometimes followed by the viewer losing the connection and walking away from your painting as well. Among other things, your eye will be drawn to and follow contrasting colors, such as white against black, or complementary colors, such as green against red. The high contrast will draw your eye there. In this example, you can see high contrast in the foreground figure's leg against the white tablecloth. The angle of this area of contrast points upward towards the right-hand side to where a woman is pointing at the central figure. Your eye follows her gaze or finger to the focal point of the entire painting, which is the murder of Amnon by Absalom, son of King David, for the rape of his sister Tamar. I have made some lines for the painting to help see the parts I am referring to. So, we see how in this 2D composition, Preti uses what we know about most human behavior to lead your eye from the bottom right side of the painting, to follow in a counterclockwise circle to the first focal point. You will also notice she is brighter than the figures around her, too. Her face and arm against a dark background. Her pointing finger in a very dark area of shadow by a man's face. If you are walking down the street and see a group of people looking in a shop window, there is a very good chance you also will peer in as you walk by, just out of curiosity. Point at something, and humans will automatically look. Cats don't understand this cue. They tend to look at the tip of your finger, but dogs do, and humans certainly react to it. Your eye will also follow what figures in a painting are looking at or pointing at. It will also move to unique areas that stand out. So if a painting, for example, is made up of a majority of triangular sharp shapes, the eye will naturally be drawn to a single soft circular shape because of its uniqueness within the painting environment. The sharp shapes can even subconsciously affect us emotionally, as the shapes themselves can cause anxiety, whereas the soft circular shape can be gentle and visually calming. Same would be true for a painting composed predominantly in blue, which had a small area of red in it. Your eye would typically go first to the red portion, due to it being unique. In a very busy picture with lots of activity, the eye will need a place to relax, a place of calm to lower the stimulation until the eye is ready to return to exploring. In this picture, it would be the blue sky in the top left. In this painting, all the figures are vertical, whereas the main character, whom the artist wants you to focus on, is horizontal. Again, something unique in the composition which draws the eye. If you look at the dark strip of black in the center of the painting, it contrasts strikingly against the blue area on its left side, and the assassin's hand, which holds an important narrative element to the painting, a knife. Both knives are hard to see against the dark background, which forces the viewer to focus on them longer or notice them at a later time. When they are discovered, the eye studies them longer because they are a found object with a sense of mystery. Your eye follows the angle of the blade directly to the face of the figure, and a process called triangulation is used, whereby the assassin's eyes also look down to the figure. This creates the shape of a triangle, which circulates the eye within a smaller frame for a while, until the eye leaves this area and moves on to the larger frame. There are many, many techniques, but we will just discuss the eye path for now. Look at this painting for a moment and see how your eye is drawn to the central character. I have marked down some of the directional lines which lead to the main character. All these techniques are used to lead your eye around the narrative and attempting to prevent it from leaving the artwork, to immerse you. As you can see, the artist has created a very strong composition to not only draw you to the central figure, but to also keep your eye within the painting for an extended period of time. Each time your eye wanders, it is caught and sent back down into the painting. The blue circle. The blue circle surrounds a figure who is not looking at the focal point, but rather directly at you, the viewer. This attempts to connect you to the painting as one of the people present at this violent event because he can see you. It is an attempt to break the wall that separates the viewer from the narrative. Sorry, lost my blue circle. But this is all looking on a 2D surface that is static. You often will stand back in a gallery and view a painting from 6 or so feet away. The artist can control you subtly with these techniques, and you can be immersed to a degree as you imagine what is happening in the scene. Now, suppose in this gallery, a pretty lady or handsome gentleman walks by. Your cell phone rings, or perhaps a baby cries. The connection between the painting and yourself is strained or possibly broken. The artist wants to immerse you, but they are not strong enough to fight against your cell phone or other distractions. So there is a level of immersion, but it is very fragile. Suppose we now look at cinema. If you go to a movie, you have a seat. Then the lights go dark to reduce any distractions around you. The movie screen is very large to block out your peripheral vision. They want your vision to be dominated exclusively by their narrative. They don't want your view moving past the border of the screen to be distracted by elements outside the movie itself. There is, of course, the big glowing red exit sign, which always reminds you that you are not in the movie, but rather watching a movie. Things like the exit sign are little barriers that keep you from being fully immersed. The goal for an immersive artist or an immersivist is to eliminate as many barriers as you can. They then turn the sound up high in the theater so that you are again dominated by your senses. You won't hear others talking so easily and are then less likely to be distracted and thus have the immersion broken. Also, the decibel level pulls your attention to it. There is narrative, and each scene has its own competition. Big image, overpowering sound, darkness outside the border, and hopefully a narrative able to captivate. But with cinema, you are a passive observer to the story. You do not interact, but remain separate from the medium. Once the movie ends, you can restart it, but the narrative is fixed, as well as the camera movement. It will never change, regardless how many times you watch it. Creating an immersive environment in a virtual world is an art form with some unique capabilities, as well as interesting challenges. Coming from a painting background, I see the virtual space as a painting you can enter and explore. You look at the Mona Lisa's smile and then turn to see who she is smiling at. A creation which can use tools such as ambient sound, duration, narrative, mystery, interaction, identity, emotion, and so forth. The same way an artist in an artistic studio may contain tools such as brushes, wood, clay, paint, wire, canvas, and wax. The viewer in a virtual environment can be an active participant who has the ability to choose their direction. It can be very open-ended. They need not view a static image nor follow a scripted camera. The freedom of choice greatly enhances immersion because it mirrors real life a bit more. We are actively part of a story rather than passively observing one. We are engaged directly. And now with VR, we also inhabit the artwork in a 360-degree canvas. But as such, how does one capture the viewer's attention if you don't even know from what angle they are viewing your work? A painter knows generally where the viewer stands in front of their painting, so they can plan ahead, as we saw with Preti's painting. In cinema, they also lead you from event to essential dialogue and so on, often in a recognizable formula. You don't break away from their fixed camera. You are led by it. You can't stop or look inside a desk drawer or behind a door. I create what I call immersive or immersive environments. Second Life is unique in that what is created in world can be persistent. It remains after you log out and can be seen by people around the world, unlike, say, World of Warcraft, which has a world created by the company and you don't edit it. It comes from a long line of evolution, from muds, moos, to lambda moos. Linden Lab, the creators of Second Life, give us the ground we stand upon, and the users create the world. Its limitations are that the information is transferred across an internet connection with the internet connection speed, unlike, say, an environment made in Unity or Unreal Engine, which uses the power of your computer, thus allowing for a high degree of realism. So art in the virtual space relies more on emotion and interaction with others. You are in an artwork, yet the avatars beside you experiencing the same work might be from various countries around the world. They are in the artwork, yet I see their random presence also as part of the artwork, almost as a performance, a shared experience. This medium alone, or combined with VR, has the potential to create a sense of immersion that far surpasses the abilities of other more traditional ones like painting or cinema. I attempt to build environments which allow the viewer to become engrossed within an experience to the extent that they forget about everything around them for a time. This can be done through layering. The idea being that the visitor sees the surface, but then suspects there is more below to find. So, for example, they may use their camera on a whim to look below a bed, discovering a note or a poem. This exploration will add a new layer to a character or to events within the immersive narrative. But it also connects the viewer to the artwork because they have interacted and the viewer has had a unique experience that they intentionally chose to do. And they are also aware that others may not have made that same discovery. An important part, though, is that they chose to look under the bed and were not brought there by a scripted camera. The open-ended nature combined with hidden elements adds a new layer of wonder, concentration, and interaction. The passive observer becoming the active participant. People may encounter my environment and may or may not find these notes or other hidden elements. But my focus is also on the joy of exploration and discovery. Knowing you have discovered something that others have missed, or being able to show others hidden secrets or meanings in an artwork are elements which I believe enhance the experience. It makes the viewer an expert, and in some cases, a teacher to others. The immersion comes with looking below the surface of an artwork and into the hidden layers. I believe that difficulty enhances a virtual artwork, but balanced. If too difficult, then it can be annoying. When a visitor works at finding layers or solving puzzles, they leave with a sense of achievement and accomplishment. They were not just given something, but they had to work for it and have now become skilled and knowledgeable. And as experts, they teach others and feel a deeper connection with the artwork as a result. Upon entering a virtual space, unlike a painting or a movie, you are now in an open-ended artwork. You, the viewer, can set out in any direction that you like with no clear goal. That freedom makes it feel real, especially in virtual reality. I am going to say just a few more things about creating immersion in a virtual artwork with VR or AR. I spoke about how fragile a state immersion is, how we can easily be distracted, thus destroying the immersion. Right now, you are sitting at home looking at a screen. The screen takes up just a small percentage of your total view. Perhaps on your desk outside the screen, you see a bill that needs to be paid, or a calendar that reminds you you have to do birthday shopping soon. Or maybe your cat jumps up on your lap, or someone is talking loudly on a phone. All these things distract from immersion. So, how can we improve on the immersion? The Canada Council for the Arts and Ontario Arts Council have awarded me several grants to create virtual world art. With these grants, I have been attempting to move past the stage that we are in right now and try to create a deeper immersion within the viewer. I have a virtual reality headset, which creates a fully immersive experience where the environment is 360 degrees. This blocks out all peripheral distractions, like the stuff around your monitor right now. I have been creating interactive spaces with a narrative, but I also have tested the incorporation of subtle scents and wind caused by fans to help further the state of immersion. Imagine a virtual space where you can smell the grass around you and feel the wind blow on you as you explored, but all so subtle that it is below your awareness in real life. Now imagine if you came home from work or from school all stressed out, and instead of appreciating a painting on your wall, or instead of passively watching TV, you instead hooked up to a custom-made environment, something designed just for you. Maybe your grandmother's house that smells of pie, or a replica of the same house that burned down 20 years ago. But you can go there with the rest of your family on holidays or on your own to read a book. And what if every recorded footage of your deceased grandmother were compiled into an artificial character who chats with you? A deep fake who knows details of your childhood and who captures the body language so accurately that you feel almost as if they were real. A trained AI. Or maybe your favorite place would be in a canoe at Algonquin Park with the sound of loons. And then what if we combined VR with AR? What if you came to experience something I made in VR, met a character, perhaps, and learned her story? What if you then logged out and went to the couch to watch a movie, and she was there, on the couch with you, smiling, talking to you directly, and aware of the movie that you are watching in real time, aware of your gestures and your eye dilations? Okay, that would be really creepy, but imagine if you allowed it to happen, you chose where and when it could happen, and so on. What if you left your apartment and a bio watch of some sort calculated the steps you had taken and the calories expended? It knew you hadn't eaten and surmised that you would be hungry. It then notified you that a bakery had just brought a tray of bagels out of an oven, and they were the highest rated and the freshest in a 1-mile radius. It knows you like bagels because when you go shopping, your house or your fridge scans the barcodes to keep track of that. Suppose now the character from my story appears and offers to lead you to this bakery, since you've not been there before, and you both have a casual stroll and a chat, but she is seen only by you or those you permit. She is now a friend, someone who knows you in detail, because all your online and offline data has been sent to her AI. She has learned not to bother you about your unhealthy eating, or she knows you like to be reminded not to have that bagel. And much like how the first message sent by Morse code was ASL, and the first object ever created in Second Life was a penis. Okay, I made those up, but you get the idea. A creation such as this, an entity that knew you and your habits intimately from being trained on you. It wouldn't be long before someone devised a way for them to be a partner in your life, too. I am not saying these are all good things, by the way. I am just saying what I can imagine. So in my art, I take my life, talking to Siri, talking to my Google Nest, arguing with Carol, the name I have given my cat's female voice, with her directions to get places. I take these things and others and then imagine them further in a parallel world to our own. And for well over a decade, I have created a long diary of sorts, which is my world split up and created into chapters of a long story. Each new creation exists in the same world as the others and tells a different portion of it through new or recurring characters who each represent a facet of my personality. The last few years, I have been making them in Second Life, but through grants from the Ontario Arts Council and Canada Council for the Arts, I have also been building them in an advanced program called Unreal Engine and putting them on Steam. LobbyCam is one such story, as well as the Brittle Epic. You'll see the links in local chat. Currently, I am creating one for Fortnite, which has about 35 million viewers a day. Virtual art may be written about in history books one day, and this may be the first stumbling steps to a new movement in art, not unlike the Cubists, Surrealists, Minimalists, and so on. Perhaps a movement may begin where the artists are called the immersivists. So I thank you, and I hope you have enjoyed my talk.
Thank you so much, Bryn. You've given us a lot to think about, and thanks so much to our audience today. And just a reminder, you'll be able to find a recording of today's presentation on the VWEC YouTube channel in the chat. We will be having our next expert event on Friday, January 26th at 1 p.m. Second Life time, when we will be joined by Sally Cherry. And to see all the VWEC events, please check out the VWEC Plaza events calendar at the link in the chat. There's the YouTube channel. And join us on social media at all these various URLs. And we are on Discord in the Second Life server, use #education. So please join us for our Friday happy hour at the other end of the deck so we could all walk over there, unless you guys have questions. If you have
Hi,
questions, go ahead and either talk or put them in the chat.
this is Marley. I'm thinking that one extension, I'm just wondering about the idea of collaboration with viewers where they make up or imagine the kind of world that they might like to be immersed in. And then you help create that and actually also teach them how they can do parts of it so that it becomes a collaborative effort with a creative process. Now, where the viewer can actually imagine what they would like to be surrounded by or be immersed in, and that the artist helps create that. .
So actually, if you need to ask a question, could you please type it in chat?
I'm sorry, I'm going to turn my